Right now, get up to 15% off select storage solutions. Put heavy-duty HDX totes to good use, protecting what's important to you. The solid, impact-resistant design prevents cracking, and the clear base and sides make items easy to find even when the totes are stacked. Find select shelving and tote storage up to 15% off at the Home Depot to organize every room in your home, from your garage to your attic. Visit HomeDepot.com. How doers get more done.
Welcome to the No Guilt Mom podcast. I am your host, JoAnn Crone. Hello, my Lolas. How are you today? How is your summer going? If you're like most moms out there, I bet is like this whole mess of non-routineness where you're either a full-time Uber driver or you're dealing with kids who are complaining to you every second of the day how bored they are. And it feels like nothing's going right, or you can't spend the time on the things you want to do, which is having fun with your kids. But you also have work you have to get done, which holds importance to you too. It is the hardest thing, especially if you work on your own or if you work from home. And if you work in an office job as well, summer is hard. When your kids are not entertained and not at home and not being taken care of, there's this special guilt just reserved for summer and for moms. And today we're digging straight into that guilt. We're going to take that guilt out. We're going to look at it, and I'm going to give you some tips on how to handle it, because I have had my fair share of guilt this summer as well already. And I hope that you can identify it. I think that you will be able to identify it. So with that, let's get on with the show. I want to tell you about something that happened to me this past weekend. My son and my husband, they got to go out of town for a Giants game in San Francisco. And my daughter and I were here in Phoenix. It was also my nephew's birthday party down in Tucson. He turned 7. Happy birthday to him. So I asked my daughter to accompany me on the drive down to Tucson, which she said yes. She loves hanging out with my sister and her 2 cousins. So first off, she insisted on driving. And this 17-year-old of mine says that I'm a bad driver and I'm who she got her bad driving from. So she only lets me drive as a privilege to me. How messed up is that? Like, you get an insult and then like you can't really come back from the insult because she's also kind of insinuating that she's like you. It's really hard, guys. It's really hard. Teenagers like have this whole way of presenting things that you're like, I can't compete with that. Okay. So she drove down to Tucson, which was actually great. It was my first time on a road trip kind of thing. It takes us about an hour and a half to get down there, where I didn't have to drive and I could just sit there in the front seat and scroll through my phone or chat with her or listen to the podcast that we had running. So that part of it was great. And then we got to the birthday party, and my sister chose to have the birthday party at an outdoor public pool, which is great. Guys, we live in Arizona. If you are not in the water, you are sweating buckets, like down your face, everything. It's basically, you need to become comfortable with just living in a swimsuit outside, being perpetually wet, and like jumping in the pool whenever you're hot. This was how I was raised. I was raised on a swim team, swim lessons every summer. I spent so much of my time in the water. My kids, on the other hand, do not like the pool, nor does my husband. He does not like the pool either. They do not like to get wet. And it's always really hard for me to go to these type of events and enjoy myself because they are so miserable the whole damn time. And I feel for them. It's a sensory thing. It is a sensory thing. But it's also a, hey, I want to go have fun kind of thing. So we were at this party and my daughter's like, okay, just give me like, what time are we going to go? I'm like, well, the party's from 10 to noon. We get to the party and my sister, being my sister, who I love dearly, she's like, yeah, I figure like afternoon, we could just move to the free end because she rented a cabana there. We could just move to the free end. We could stay as long as we want. And so I'm like, my daughter is going to have some words about this one. I was fine with it. I was in the pool. I was helping my sister. About 12:30, my daughter's like, I'm too hot. I'm miserable. I'm going to go sit in the car. And as I was still on the pool deck, walking to the drinking fountain, I realized that I was like rushing to get a drink. Do you ever feel yourself when you're like that? You have this heightened sense of something's wrong. I need to make sure that I do things as fast as humanly possible to get them done. Because already in my mind, I'm thinking, how can I convince my sister to end this party sooner? Because I'm also helping her out. Her partner had to leave early to help his dad move into his house, and it was a whole thing. So I'm helping her out. So I'm like trying to figure out a way to keep my daughter happy, to keep my sister happy. And I don't even think about myself. And I stop myself right there and I'm like, okay, so my daughter's sitting in her car with the engine running, air conditioner on. I'm here like hurrying everywhere. I'm not having any fun myself. What am I doing? What am I doing? And that's when I stepped back and I said, okay, what do I value in this situation? And I really had to tell myself this consciously. And this is something for you to do too when you get into these things. I find it's very, very helpful. When I ask myself this question, what do I value? I know that I value connection and I value adventure. And those two really related to this situation because my sister's like, let's go down the slides. And they had some pretty good slides at this public pool. It was a really, really nice public pool, by the way. And I was loving it. And I'm like, I need to commit fully to this moment. I just need to love it. And my daughter's in her car, yes, but she's in her car. 17-year-old has a car. That's a great thing. She's in air conditioning. I find out later that she drove herself to Dairy Queen. She's fine. Like she's fine. So why does all my mental energy go to making sure that she is happy? I mean, do you do this as well? Do you constantly think of everybody else in your family, especially when you are having a good time? Do you think of the people you love who are not having a good time and you almost cut your time short because of that? Yes. Yeah, you're in the right place. We are going to get into it. So here's some step by steps. I'm going to walk you through it. I want you to think of a situation the last time that you did this. The last time you could have had a real blast somewhere and you cut your fun short because somebody else was miserable. This happens a lot on vacation too. I mean, especially now that we're in summer, if you go somewhere you've always wanted to be, and then you have one member of your family who complains about like all the food at all the restaurants and is just miserable the entire time, you're not going to have as much fun. In fact, you're probably going to cut your fun short. So the first thing to do is try to figure out the thought that's running underneath. Actually, I want to take us back to a step before that because the first thing you need to do is recognize that you're doing something. Remember how I said I was walking to the water fountain and I realized I was rushing? Based on my interview with Jenna Free, and I'll put that interview down in the show notes, she said that one of the keys to telling that you are going into a dysregulated state is that you're rushing everywhere. So if you feel yourself rushing, that is your cue to slow down, take some deep breaths and try to get out of that rushing mindset. Because after the rushing mindset comes dysregulation and yelling and screaming and crying and everything. But you can stop it before it gets there if you can catch it at rushing. So do that first. Second, what's that thought? What's the thought that's running underneath? Is the thought, I should be making them happy. There's this card that I always mention that I saw in the card section at my grocery store. And it said, the best mom has happy kids. And I wanted to be like, BS. That is so untrue. Because if you base your worth as a mom on the fact of your kids being happy, I mean, I think all of us would be pretty low on the mom score. if we did that, because kids don't like being uncomfortable. They are growing human beings. They will not be happy anytime that they experience discomfort. And discomfort is essential to grow and to learn. So really, if you're doing a great job as a parent, your kids experience discomfort on a fairly regular basis. And with that discomfort and with that pressure, you are raising really intelligent, resourceful, respectful human beings. That is how you are a good mom, not this happy kids stuff. That's ridiculous. So that's the first thought I had in my head. I should be making her happy. And that's what I used to counter that thought, because being uncomfortable in the car was not something I had caused. That was her choice. She could have easily just kept wearing her swimsuit and gotten in the pool or figured out like a way around it. So that's the first thing. You know what I love about a new school year? That feeling of possibility. Like this could be the year everything just clicks for your kid. And if you've been thinking there might be a different path that fits your child better, I want you to know about K-12 powered schools. They offer tuition-free accredited online public school for kids in kindergarten through 12th grade. And they genuinely get that not every kid thrives the same way. K-12 meets your child where they are with dedicated teachers trained in virtual instruction who give real-time support, flexible options tailored to your child's needs and goals, and a real online community with extracurricular activities so your kid can connect with peers and explore what lights them up. K-12 has been doing this for over 25 years. And the best part, you can enroll anytime during the school year. So if now is the moment your family is ready for something new, this is your sign. See how K-12 powered schools can help unlock your child's full potential. Enroll online today at k12.com/NGM. That's the letter K, the number 12.com/NGM. k12.com/NGM. I want to talk about the moment I became a laundry sauce person. I was walking through my house and I just stopped because the whole laundry area smelled incredible. Not like laundry detergent incredible, like you just walked into a really nice hotel incredible. And that was it. So here's the thing about laundry sauce. These are premium scented laundry pods made with fine fragrances from the world's top perfumers. We're talking scents like Australian sandalwood, Italian bergamot, and a new limited edition Brazilian vanilla. And the scent lasts until your next laundry day. When I pull clothes out of the dryer, my first thought is genuinely, oh my gosh, this smells amazing. And the pods, they're pre-measured, pop them in, done. No lid, no guessing, no mess. Plus, they're packed with bioenzymes that actually obliterate stains from all the very summery things your family gets into. For a limited time only, our listeners get 20% off your entire order when you use code NOGUILT at laundrysauce.com. That's 20% off your entire order at laundrysauce.com with promo code NOGUILT. After you purchase, they'll ask you where you heard about them. Please support our show and tell them we sent you. It's time to make laundry day the best day of the week. Growing up, I was terrified to spend money. It wasn't about not having it. It was the guilt. Every time I wanted something, I felt like I shouldn't even ask for it. So I just didn't. That guilt followed me straight into adulthood. That's basically been my money story. Guilt first, math never. Until Monarch. Now I see where our money actually goes instead of guessing. And a chunk was quietly vanishing into the meal delivery apps we used. The weekly AI recap catches that now before it's a problem. And my favorite part, asking Monarch AI's assistant instead of digging through reports and using it to map out big goals since we're about to have a kid headed to college. Write your own money story with Monarch. Use code NOGUILT at monarch.com to get your first year of Monarch Core half off at just $50. That's 50% off your first year at monarch.com with code NOGUILT. The second thought was that I am doing something wrong. And this enters so many moms' heads. I know during coaching in our inner circle, one of my members brought this up that the reason her kids are bored was because she decided to move them out of the city to the country. They had all of their friends in the city area, and now they have no friends next door. And that's why they're bored, and it's all her fault. But as we took this back, I was like, there must have been some reasons you moved. And she's like, yeah, because like there's so many great things outside here. They have a river right there. And I stopped her. I'm like, they have a river? I mean, can you imagine if you had access to a river as a kid? I would have been in that river all the time. And she also lives in an area that is not Arizona and actually has nice summer weather. So she also thought she was moving to give them the opportunity to be outside. Well, kids, any discomfort they experience is going to show up as unhappiness. And so since they really weren't used to the environment, they complained with the I'm bored. And thus she thought she's doing it wrong. So if you have any thoughts like that running through your mind, I just want to let you know you're doing everything right. If they're complaining that I'm bored, you have them right there in that point of discomfort where their boredom can lead to very creative and ingenious things. Let's talk about that boredom spiral. Because during the summer, this happens in 1,000 ways. Like your kid comes to you and says, I'm bored, and something in you just activates like it did in my inner circle member. And tell me if this is what you do. Maybe you start offering suggestions and they turn down everyone and they pout and they go on their screens and they shoot you a look that says you have personally failed them. I mean, it sounds dramatic, but that kind of feels like where we are as parents. And when your kid is that unhappy, you can't focus on what you're doing anymore. Half of your brain has been hijacked, and now you're managing their emotional state along with your own emotional state. And you didn't plan to be entertainment director today. You weren't even doing anything fun. You were trying to get some work done, or you were trying to just sit quietly for 5 minutes or have like one single thought that was yours, right? But now you're managing the mood in the whole room. And this is what I mean when I say that your kids' emotions are costing you your own. Because if moms have to choose between doing something for themselves and making sure their kids are happy, that making sure their kids are happy is probably going to be chosen like 95% of the time. Like no questions. It's almost an unconscious thing that we do, right? And what this does is this overloads our nervous system because we don't have control over our kids' emotional states. We have no control in that whatsoever. They're the only ones who have control over their emotions. So I want to tell you this directly. Look at me. Especially if you're watching on YouTube. I say that phrase and I'm like, wait, you're listening to a podcast. You don't have control over your kids' emotions. You don't. You are not the magician emotional manipulator. You just don't have that power. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry to break it to you, but you do not. And when you try to have that power, you not only neglect what you need, but you also don't help your kids get out of their emotional state either. All those suggestions you offer, and none of them gets picked, it's because your kids need to figure out a way from their boredom. They absolutely do. Now, I want to put a little caveat here because young kids, toddlers, preschoolers, maybe a little bit of that early elementary, like kindergarten-ish, they're going to need a little bit more help in this arena. When kids tell you, I'm bored, they're usually doing it kind of like this. Oh, I'm bored. I'm so bored. We have nothing to do. Nothing to do. As you look at the 1,000 things they have to do in front of them. Nothing to do. That's the sign of a kid who could definitely handle their own boredom. They're not dysregulated. They're pretty in control of what they're saying. Now, here is a kid who cannot handle their own boredom. Mom, I don't know what to do. I'm so bored. And they're screaming and they're yelling and they're crying, that is a dysregulated child. And in that situation, they're not going to be able to handle that boredom. If you're like, oh, go figure it out yourself, it's not going to happen. It's just going to be more crying and more crying and more crying. What to do in that scenario is to sit down next to them and empathize. Be like, yeah, I can see that. I can see you're really, really upset. And then just stay there quietly. Just stay with them, stay next to them. You don't have to stop them from crying. This is not your goal. Your only goal is just to sit there and regulate your own emotions. Breathe in and out. Try to calm yourself down. You don't have to lead them through breathing exercises. You don't have to tell them to calm down. You are just there beside them as this calm force. And they might keep crying. That's okay. Remember, your job is not to stop them from crying. Your job is to be there and supportive and calm yourself, offering those, I'm so sorry, babe. I'm so sorry. And empathizing. That's it. That's it. And after a little bit, they're going to calm down. And when they calm down, they're probably going to have some solutions that they want to try for their boredom. Or maybe they have something that they want to ask you to do with them. But I just wanted to make sure that's clear, that difference between the child who is definitely able to figure out the boredom themselves and the child who is dysregulated and needs your help to calm down. They're two different things. Okay. Since I did give you the strategy and the game plan to help your child calm down, I'm going to focus specifically on the child who can figure out their boredom. Now, I don't want to make this so age dependent because it just depends like what state your kindergartner, your first grader, your preschooler are in. They might be able to figure out their own boredom sometimes, and sometimes they're not. So don't look for age, look more for, the emotions coming out of them and screaming and crying, or maybe like shutting down and slamming the door to their room, something like that. So with this child who can figure it out, with this child who's just going, I'm bored. There's nothing to do. I'm so bored. Here's how you can handle it. I laugh because I've been through it. I've been that child. Straight up been that child. But a lot of us can remember being that child. But a lot of us can remember feeling that discomfort. And I want to remind you about the joy that comes from getting yourself out of that discomfort, not from your parents suggesting anything to do. So first, know what your responsibility actually is. Like, let me be clear. I am not saying ignore your kid. I'm not saying that their feelings don't matter. I'm not saying you should stay at a pool party for 6 hours while your teenager bakes in the car or anything. I'm not saying that. During that party, I kept in communication with my daughter the whole time. I checked in. I'm like, hey, here's where I am. Here's what's going on. I want to do this. How are you? She wasn't feeling the best, but she was okay. I was considerate to her. I wasn't ignoring her. That's different from being responsible for her emotional state. Consideration means I factor you in, but responsibility means that I make myself the manager of your feelings. And that is not something that I want to put myself in. Now, when you factor them in, it doesn't mean that if they're the slightest bit uncomfortable, you leave and abandon all your plans. Each time I was checking in, I was like, okay, is she at that stage of discomfort where she can still handle it herself? And she was, and she did handle it herself. So just to break it down again, consideration, I'm aware of how you're feeling and I factor it into my decisions. I don't make it dictate my decisions. I factor it into my decisions versus responsibility. And I treat your discomfort as my emergency and reorganize my life to fix it. Really, really honest right now. Where do you usually fall? Are you more of the consideration of your kids' feelings and emotions? Or do you feel more of the responsibility for your kids' emotions and feelings? Because one of these is loving, the consideration, and the other is exhausting for you and actually for your kid too. Because it's getting you into a dysregulated state when their emotions are dysregulated, when they're like experiencing a little bit of discomfort. When you stay steady, and steady doesn't mean keeping with the course the entire time, regardless of what everyone else is doing. But when you consider other people and factor it in, you're showing your kids a lesson in leadership. You're showing them how they don't have to cave into other people's feelings, but how they can still be really cognizant of other people's feelings. I remember the first time we started allowance with my daughter, I told her, yes, of course you can buy that. How much do you have in your allowance? And that question changed everything because suddenly she was doing the math, not me. We went to a musical and she walked up to the merch stand, looked at a t-shirt and went, $40? That's so much money. That sentence never came out of her mouth before she had her own money to think about. That's exactly what Cash App's managed accounts for kids 6 to 12 are built for. Whether it's $5 from allowance or $40 birthday money from grandma, it all counts and it all stays with them as they grow up. No subscription fees, no minimum balance, just real practice making real decisions while you're still the one guiding it from your own app. If you're ready to start teaching money habits without adding more stress to your plate, download Cash App and set up a managed account for your child today. For a limited time, new Cash App customers who are parents can use our exclusive referral code FAMILY10 to earn $10. Download Cash App, enter the referral code in your profile, send $5 to a friend within 14 days, and you will receive $10. Terms apply. Cash App is a financial services platform, not a bank. Banking services provided by Cash App's bank partners. Prepaid debit cards issued by Sutton Bank, member FDIC. Cash App Visa debit flex cards issued by Sutton Bank, member FDIC, and the Bancorp Bank NA, pursuant to a license from Visa USA Inc. See terms and conditions for the Sutton prepaid card, Sutton debit flex card, and Bancorp debit flex card. Savings and offers provided by Cash App, a Block Inc. brand. Parents and legal guardians can open a managed account for kids 6 to 12. Visit cash.app/legal/podcast for full disclosures.
Hey, it's Christy from Lululemon. I'm in the office with what's new, and the Breezily collection has definitely caught my eye. If you're like me and want to add some lighter, airy pieces to your wardrobe, this is a great place to start. There's a Breezily tank, shorts, and pants, all in our Swift fabric, which is super lightweight and stretchy. They're flowy staples you can mix and match for a really easy, elevated vibe, whether it's to and from the studio or just for every day. The Breezily collection is in store now, or you can shop online at lululemon.com.
And we're live on match day as Doug reaches for a buffalo wing. He's got it! Oh, and he's gone for a can of Pepsi too! What a finish! There's no doubt about it. It just tastes better. Match days deserve Pepsi.
Consider what your kids get when you stop managing their emotions. Have you ever thought of that one? Because I bet like a lot of us think that, oh my gosh, if I don't step in right now, it's going to be a huge thing and they're going to hate me for the rest of their lives and I'm going to have to pay for their therapy, right? Because it isn't just about your well-being here. Actually staying in something that you really want to do while being considerate, it's really good parenting. When my daughter waited in that car and I enjoyed the party, she was doing something immensely valuable. She was mildly uncomfortable for someone else's happiness. That means she also got the practice in consideration and empathy, being able to stay in that kind of undesired state, but also being able to withstand it. And it's patience. It's called learning the world doesn't stop and reorganize itself around her discomfort. And kids who grow up with parents who always fix their boredom, always smooth over their discomfort, always drop their own enjoyment to manage the room, those kids have a harder time with resilience. They haven't had enough practice sitting with a feeling that isn't immediately resolved. And when you stay at a party or when you stay at an event, you're not being selfish. You're modeling something really important. That's other people's happiness matters, not just their own. That your sister's son's birthday party is worth showing up for. That your own joy has value. That's not a lesson that you can teach with words. The only way you teach that lesson is by living it and showing it. So right now, think of a recent moment where you dropped your own enjoyment because your kid was uncomfortable. I asked you to think of this before, remember? But ask yourself this question. Was their discomfort an emergency, or was it just a feeling that they needed to sit with? And as a little extra, could it be that you're not comfortable with them sitting with their feelings because you're not comfortable sitting with your own feelings? It's just a little honest reflection right there. Here's the piece I had to be really honest with myself about. When I started rushing at that party, I told myself I was doing it for my daughter, but really was I? Or was I trying to make my own discomfort disappear? The discomfort of being happy while she wasn't. The discomfort of the thought that I am doing something wrong. The discomfort of feeling like a mom who prioritizes her own enjoyment, because that's a weird feeling if you don't do it regularly. Sometimes when we rush to fix our kids' emotional states, we're not actually fixing theirs. We're managing our own, and we're trying to make that guilty feeling stop. And that's worth knowing, because it means the solution isn't about your kid at all. It's about giving yourself permission to feel good even when they don't. And that could hit hard. I mean, if you hear that, you're like, oh, that's rough. That's a rough one. Let me tell it to you straight. You are allowed to be happy even if your kid isn't. You are. You are allowed to enjoy something that they don't enjoy. You are allowed to stay at the party. None of that is selfish. It is you being a human, and you are showing them how to be a human as well. So let's finish this off with some practical things you can do in some of the situations that you're going to come across this summer. So maybe you have a similar birthday party in the moment scenario that I had. Here's what to do. Check in, don't check out. Stay in communication with your kid. A quick text, a wave if they're a little younger and they can't go into their car on the air conditioning, or a little check-in where if they're sitting on the outskirts, you're just like, hey, how's it going? And they're like, oh, fine. They're okay. They're okay. And don't treat it as a command to leave. Next, name the thought that's actually driving the rush. Is it the thought, I'm doing something wrong? That's a thought. It's not a fact. Ask yourself, is this actually true? And then third, give yourself a time frame if it helps your own nervous system. Say, I'm going to stay another 45 minutes and then we'll head out. So that way you're not constantly checking your clock and you're not constantly like, oh my gosh, it's been 5 minutes. Oh, it's been 10 minutes. Give yourself a time frame if it helps you, but it's not necessary. It's only for you. Moving to that boredom spiral. When your kid says, I'm bored, try, I hear you. I trust you to figure out something to do, and then return to what you're doing. And remember, it's not for every kid. If your kid is seriously dysregulated and crying and screaming, that response isn't going to work. That crying and screaming needs you to co-regulate with them, just so we're clear on that. And also that boredom is not an emergency. It is actually one of the most possibly creative states your kid can be in. Because when you experience that discomfort of being bored, that's when you experience the actual will and the drive to create something. Because creation is hard. It takes effort. And you need a reason to make that effort happen. And being bored is a great, great reason. So with all of this, what I want you to take away is notice when you're managing your own discomfort disguised as concern for others. These are different things. They need different responses. Okay? So if you're the one who is constantly checking in on everyone, say you're at an event, you're like, are you okay? How are you doing? Are you okay? Oh, you look sad. Are you sad? That could be a clue that you're trying to manage your own discomfort and it's not about the other people at all. I say this as a friend. Coming up in the next few weeks, we're going into a boundary series. So if you have trouble setting boundaries and keeping boundaries, You are going to want to tune in because there's also something really, really big happening in No Guilt Mom Land, which I will announce next week. So keep listening to the No Guilt Mom podcast. If you're on Spotify, hit that follow button so you get the episodes delivered right to you. If you're on Apple Podcasts or any other podcast player, follow No Guilt Mom for more. Remember, the best mom is a happy mom. Take care of you. I'll talk with you later. Bye.
Insurance isn't one size fits all. That's why customers have enjoyed Progressive's Name Your Price tool for years now. With the Name Your Price tool, you tell them what you want to pay, and they'll show you options that fit your budget. So whether you're picking out your first policy or just looking for something that works better for you and your family, they make it easy to see your options. Visit Progressive.com. Find a rate that works for you with the Name Your Price tool. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law.